everybody! I want to talk about comics today. Comics are definitely my kind of thing. I've always enjoyed telling stories with pictures. Ever since I could really draw, that was really like to do. And on YouTube, I've been kind of dabbling in the idea of speed paints. But illustrations aren't really what I want to do. You know, I enjoy them, but nowhere near as much as I enjoy making comics. And I'm a hobbyist, not really a professional or semi-professional, so my schedule is fairly lax, fairly flexible, and my process is very simple, maybe even a little slapdash. There's a method to the madness, though. And I kind of just wanted to share my process with you for anybody out there who's hoping to start comics, or maybe you're just curious and want to watch a fun comic making video. First of all, I brainstorm, then I script, then thumbnail, and the last stretch I kind of call one big step, which is just digitally inking, coloring, and lettering. So brainstorming is more difficult than I'd like to admit. My main webcomic is about a short girl learning Kung Fu, something I'm incredibly familiar with. Even so, I need to decide whether or not something is good comic material. So I tend to pick things like a technique I'm learning and I illustrate it, or maybe the name of a move that I want to share, stuff like that. I write down ideas and save them for later in my planner. Once I pick my favorite idea, it's time to script. What I do is nothing special. I just kind of do like a screenplay or instant messaging kind of format. I like to put breaks in between or within lines to show me where I want new panels to start. And I do that with just a slash or something. And the next step is thumbnailing. Usually, I have a pretty good idea of what I want the panel to look like while I'm scripting it, and the majority of my strips are just two people talking. Though lately I've been kind of debating, planning out what the studio, the Kung Fu school should look like, and try and get more angles, make it more visually appealing as a comic. But generally, I try to make the thumbnails fairly neat, at the very least. They're not pages, they're not super detailed or anything, but, it's just a strip format. It's simple. I try to get as much information into a thumbnail as I can, because oftentimes I just trace over that thumbnail in the inking stage. I'm familiar enough with my characters and what I want them to look like, where the little floops in their hair go. So I don't need to worry too much about that in the drafting phase. I can cut that step out and it saves me a little bit of time. Now lastly, the step, or steps, I guess, how far you want to break it down, that you're watching in this video are inking, coloring, and lettering. I use Photoshop Elements 7. Yeah, 7. I'm sure there's like 15 or 18 by now, but it's old. It does everything I need it to do. I don't need a really fancy Photoshop program to do these comics. Photoshop Elements came with a bundle with my graphics tablet, and I've kind of just stuck with it. It's a lot cheaper in the long run. But yeah, so I scan in the thumbnails and I crop them and resize them so that my working size is about 1200 pixels wide. It's just what I'm comfortable with. I use the shape tool to create my borders or my panels. The pen, I'll put the settings somewhere on this screen, but basically it's a pen pressure brush I picked the silk brush size, I believe, and I set it to make it round, no fade. It gives me a really nice bold line that I can change and gets affected by the pen pressure. It's a nice brush. That's the only one I use. So working larger than what you publish is a pretty common practice. It does help with the resolution, and if you print smaller than what you're working at, it does make things look a lot neater. You can get a little bit more detail into that printing. I think it might help with copying and stuff too. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. But it gives you a pretty nice quality overall. When I've finished with everything, all the steps, I make a preview image. I do it for Tapis's format. You want a 300 pixel square, and so I make sure I crop that. I save it as its own separate file, and then the comic itself, I save the Photoshop file, resize it down to 940 pixels wide for Tapastic. Sometimes it'll ask you to split the strip somewhere down the middle because you can't. I can't remember what the maximum length is for a Tapas comic, but I've been having to do that lately. And then, yeah, I just post it. So yeah, my process is fairly simple. Honestly, the hardest part is just making sure I make time for comics on a regular basis. I'm really proud of my most recent strips. You know, that's really the quality that I'm proud of and I want to produce regularly. Especially the Sweep 'em Off Their Feet one. I thought that was funny. It was cute. It was so neat and tidy looking. I'm just so proud of myself on that one. I've come a long way. Really, look back at some of the old comics. When I was first posting, I was posting twice a week. I could see how rushed I was just to post something. I was having a lot of fun, but I burnt out really fast. So that's kind of my goal, where I want to go with this comic right now, is to do weekly posts of good quality. You know, that's my dream right now. Anyways, I hope this was helpful for you if you're starting out and trying to figure out what it's like to make a really simple, informal webcomic just for fun. Overall, have fun. And if anyone has any tips or tricks they'd like to share, especially when it comes to time management, I would love to hear from you. I mean, I work 40 hours a week. I do Kung Fu 10 to 12 hours a week. It doesn't leave me a lot of time for drawing, but please share. Let's all grow together and have fun comicking.